Welcome back to that Shiro Life podcast. I'm your host, Bernette Sherman. We're in season 2, which is all about the call to adventure on your Shiro's journey. In episode 2, the topic is, what's your life like now? And we'll be talking about satisfaction, dissatisfaction, comfort, and discomfort, and what they mean for you answering the call. Let's dive in. In The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy starts off with what I would consider an initial call to adventure. It's a discomfort that upsets her status quo. The mean Miss Gulch threatens her dog, Toto. She loves Toto. Don't we all? And so she's obviously upset. But when she tries to talk to her family about it, she's practically invisible, both silenced and ignored. Women have come a long way from those days, but we can still often feel as if our needs are invisible to the people we care about, even when they care about us. So this episode may seem a bit everywhere, but I think it's fitting, given that it's about where you are now. Before we start on our journeys and before we say yes to a call to adventure, hey, we're in our ordinary world, our everyday lives. That's just part of the story. So in this early part of Dorothy's story, despite her being upset about this by Miss Gulch's threats made to her dog Toto, it's not enough for her to take action. Yes, she's dissatisfied. Yes, she's upset, but she continues to merely complain. She seeks out guidance and advice from the other people on the farm, but she doesn't really seem to be listening to what they're saying. In fact, it seems like she wants a different solution, but she's still in the victim mentality. She's not owning her inner Shiro. So how many times have we gone through life complaining to anyone who will listen about how we've been wronged and how whatever is happening is the fault of someone else? We want someone to just go along with us, agree with us, and make us feel right and justified in our bitterness, in our jealousy, in our anger, whatever emotion you want to name, we want to feel right in it. We might be receiving some good counsel, some wise counsel from someone, but because we want a different solution or just an easier one, we ignore them, usually bouncing from one person to another person for advice, looking for the answer that we've already decided is the one, and like nothing else will do. I know I'm not the only one. I'm not talking to myself here, right? I'm not the only one. And in those areas where we only want to complain, what happens? We remain dissatisfied. We stay in pain or in discomfort. Now, all of us have some satisfaction, dissatisfaction, comfort, and discomfort with our lives. We might be completely satisfied with our creative pursuits, but extremely dissatisfied with our physical health and wellness. Our careers may be outstanding, but personal relationships, they're in shambles. We may have really healthy relationships, but our finances don't support us showing up in the big way we want to for ourselves, our family, and our friends. Perhaps the opposite for all of these is true. Our comfort with how our life is right now will keep us going. It'll just keep us going along with that life until the discomfort becomes great enough to activate our reptilian brain's need for continued safety and survival. Get that? It's going to keep going until the discomfort becomes great enough to activate our brain to say, what used to work doesn't work anymore. It may keep going until there's no one left to listen to the complaining and poor me's, and you find yourself alone at a pity party of one. If your discomfort is from a sense that the status quo will no longer ensure your survival and safety, you may finally feel the drive to change. Now, what was Dorothy's like? She was dissatisfied with her lack of self autonomy, being unheard and overlooked. She was also vocal and protective of those she cared about and those that were vulnerable, such as Toto and the little chick who wasn't doing well. But as we know, she did want more. For now, I'm going to stop there with Dorothy's story because this episode is about us taking a look at what our life is like now. So before we actually say yes to our call to adventure. For some people, even when what used to work stops working, it's not enough. The amygdala steps in. Now, the amygdala is often called the fear center of the brain because it is key to processing our emotions, especially fear and aggression. Now, this Amy girl, amygdala, is very sneaky in her goal to be protective and convince us to keep going and doing what we're doing because it's worked to keep us safe and alive so far, even if it's not working anymore. Now, I've written on some of this in the book that I've dusted off, and I'm now in the process of finishing the manuscript, but I've gotten a lot out of it personally. The point is this, that until our discomfort and dissatisfaction are high enough, we're not going to make changes. Like Dorothy, who was just dissatisfied enough to complain, but not to take action. And for us Shiros, not in the fictional land of Oz or Kansas, unless we also change our mindset, we aren't going to make lasting changes. I'm going to go back just a few years. When I was competing for the Mrs. Georgia America pageant in 2019, I needed to drop some weight. I didn't know then that I was probably having early perimenopause symptoms, but I knew my gut was not cute and that I was supposed to get on the stage in swimwear and that supposedly bikinis were desired. Yeah, I worked really hard leading up to the pageant on my platform and interviewing, but not so much on my body. I was in denial that somehow the pounds would just melt away. I didn't want to work out. I know, right? And found myself trying fads that didn't give me any lasting results and left me dissatisfied. And well, we were also being judged on our physical fitness in addition to our message and platform. Now, I hurriedly shed about 10 pounds in the couple weeks leading up to the pageant, but it wasn't combined with any kind of resistance or weight training. And I was still a full 10 pounds overweight. That shows up in the bikini. Trust me, girls. I had no mindset shift around fitness at that time. Zero. My goal was that pageant, and I had made no changes to my lifestyle to support my fitness or overall health. Instead, when I lost, and badly, I chose to be a little bitter that the pageant was shallow, not appreciating the fact that those other women did the work I hadn't done. I thought that everything else I'd done should be more important. But it was I who had chosen to compete in a space that required a well-rounded woman to show up fit to serve and as an example of it, both inside and out. And the competition was stiff. I remember thinking, are these women for real? And most were at least in their 30s, some in their 40s like me. Just like, geez. I will say I wouldn't compete again in a pageant that didn't value having a platform and service as well as physical fitness, but it was my personal failure. I have to take personal responsibility that I did not bring my best self forward as a well-rounded contestant. Yes, there it goes again, that body, mind, and spirit thing. So after losing miserably, yeah, I still didn't feel the need to change my lifestyle or get healthy and fit. Nope. Like Dorothy, I wanted to complain and not take that personal responsibility. Then 9 months later, all bets were off. When COVID-19 changed the world, I went from a reasonable, healthy weight, not pageant look, but I was satisfied, to gaining nearly 30 pounds in a matter of 3.5 years. The woman I was in 23 and the woman I was in 2019 looked very different. I didn't like the way my life was looking, but I can say I love the way it looks now. I'm on my own epic adventure to show up in the way the universe desires me to, not hiding my truth or my power and being unapologetic about my lifestyle, my health, love, and the abundance my husband and I have manifested. Unapologetic. So, Shiro, what's your life look like now? Do you like it? Do you love it? Where are you settling for good enough? Date nights on the sofa with microwave popcorn, conversations with your children that turn into shouting matches, a job that undervalues you and it shows in your paycheck and the fact that you haven't been promoted despite doing more than others who have been? Or maybe it's still struggling to lose the extra 15 pounds, but convincing yourself it's good enough because you don't need to wear that hot two-piece and the one piece with the tummy control will do just fine. It could be something else. Like you just settling for what is right now when you know you want to write a book or be on stage or take a trip out of the country for the first time, or maybe just across the country. You want to overcome a fear of flying or take a sewing class, an art class, or a glass blowing class. Maybe even a trapeze or pole dancing class. Who knows? Perhaps you want to go back to school and get a degree so you can start a new career. Maybe you want to make enough in your side hustle to pay for the kids' extracurricular activities, or to get your hair done and nails done without guilt, or buy that car you can't help but turn your head to look at every time one goes by. When you think about it, how well does your current life line up with your vision for the epic life? Can you draw a dotted line from your current life to your epic life? If not, where does it veer off? In 2023, I was going back and forth between doing the things I wanted to do. I finally had a space to do intuitive guidance and healing and had plans of launching that Shiro life. But something was off. Because of that, my energy was off, and I wasn't able to show up fully for my life. And I had this great summer as a writer, being invited to speak at conferences and events, but my spirit was struggling. As an intuitive, I knew something was wrong, but it took a couple of months to uncover it. Now, perhaps it was being stuck in purgatory for 8 hours on the way back from Western New York in August, after divine intervention had us miss a fatal accident, an 8-car pileup. Quite literally, my daughter and we found ourselves in the Purgatory Mountains on I-81 in Virginia. Or maybe it was discovering the lump in my breast in August as well, a lump I only discovered because I listened to spirit when they said to check my left breast. My purpose was being thwarted because I was out of balance. My body wasn't pulling its weight in the beautiful dance that is meant to be physical, mental, and spiritual. And it was because I wasn't being a steward of my body and my wellness and my health. I had everything else I wanted. Loving and supportive husband, 2 great kids, an amazing home, vacations out of the country, a carefree lifestyle, the time and space to be creative. But the pandemic and other life situations had put more stress on me than I realized. And the life I'd manifested was missing something. I was missing a key part of myself. I finally reached the point of discomfort and dissatisfaction strong enough to make me do something. Almost exactly a year ago from when this goes out, my husband was able to retire early. And 6 weeks later, I started my wellness journey. Now, this is the reality. I had poured so much emotional and spiritual support and nurturing to him and our family. And without the stress and demands of his career, I found myself paying more attention to me. It was admittedly odd, and I don't suggest you wait that long to do it. Take those moments now to pay attention to yourself. But I was also going through perimenopause, and I didn't know it. My body and mind were flailing, and it had affected my spirit, and I didn't know what to do. So I started with what I could see, the physical. I was 35 pounds overweight by the time I let myself step on the scale. Who knows what I've gotten up to? And my blood pressure was high, and I found that lump in my breast. I had to take care of the physical. Now, I already knew physical activity was good for mental health, but that wasn't even the focus. I plain felt bad in my body, low energy, sluggish, hot flashes, night sweats, restless leg syndrome for 12 years. My eyes were always red and my skin was dull. 2 years of stress combined with perimenopause had me haggard, and I looked it. This was my call to adventure. I ignored it the first few times, either because I didn't recognize it as a call or because I just wasn't ready. It's funny, but I still remember telling a neighbor who invited me to come work out in her home gym that I didn't like working out literally 2 weeks before I joined the gym, hired a trainer, and started my journey. Yeah. What changed? I looked at my life honestly. Now, this episode isn't about saying yes, but really about taking a look at your life now. Where can it be improved? What's lacking? What's working? What do you want more of, less of? These are all questions you can ask yourself in the next week. I'd even encourage you to take it a step further and look at the 8 dimensions of wellness and maybe even do a personal assessment. I'll share what those are and include a link to a free online assessment you can do in the notes for the show. And the assessment's not mine. You can also just Google it if you'd like. This is a great way to get a sense of what parts of your life could stand for some more love and attention. If you do the assessment and find that there are weaker areas, you can balance those. And if you need support doing that, I can help you. When we take a good, honest look at our lives through loving and grace-filled eyes, we can tenderly guide ourselves in the direction of our heart and soul's calling. Your soul wants so much for you. She's probably looking at you right now and cheering for you because she knows something about you that you may not even recognize yet. You are powerful. You are capable. You are magical. You are magnificently made. You can have the epic life she knows is waiting for you. And you can have it in this lifetime. You don't have to wait for some hereafter or next lifetime. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes, you can have it. You can have it. So just take a look at your life. Be honest with yourself and gentle, but take a look at your life now. What is it like now? Be very thoughtful. Write down what you receive in that. Sit down with yourself. Answer those questions I posed in this podcast. And I'll make sure I put those questions in the newsletter that goes out tomorrow. So if you subscribe, you can pull them from there. Okay, so before I share this week's affirmation and mini message, just a reminder that my romantic comedy novella, But First Crawl, is coming out on Kindle Unlimited a week from today, August 1st, 2024, and it is currently available in paperback. This podcast is sponsored by my company, Mount Hope Media, at mounthopemedia.com. Now for this week's affirmation. I am aligned with my soul's purpose and ready to see and release the limitations holding me captive in my present life. I am aligned with my soul's purpose and ready to see and release the limitations holding me captive in my present life. I am aligned with my soul's purpose and ready to see and release the limitations holding me captive in my present life. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The mini message for this week is a reminder to all of us to go easy. Here it is. Grace and mercy are beautiful gifts to give ourselves. We often give them to those we care about and love, and we should be included in that list of those who are worthy to receive our own grace and mercy. Be gentle with yourself as you journey along this path that is life. It is not a straight or narrow road, but it is a winding, open road large enough for many to travel. There is no lack or limitation outside of your power and perception. You can manifest the existence you wish to experience when you are internally aligned with that experience. I love the messages I get from Source and my helpers. They help me, and I hope they help you. Shiro, if you aren't getting my newsletter and updates, be sure to subscribe. Please follow this podcast, and if you enjoy what I'm sharing, maybe there's another woman who will too. Will you take a moment and share it with one person you believe is ready to step into her Shiro life? The more women committed to their epic life, the better this world will be. Thank you for joining me for this episode of That Shiro Life podcast. Again, I'm your host, Bernette Sherman. Have a great week, and I'll be back next week, Thursday, with episode 13 for What Does a Call Look Like? And that is the day of my book release for But First Crawl, August 1st. So go ahead and download that on Kindle. You can read it for free. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.